And then the third man took a knife and plunged it into my heart. The pain was excruciating, physically and emotionally, and I died.
Do you feel that you inherited some of your mom's psychic gifts?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
Did that show up for you even as a young person, and how?
It showed up as a young person, and I would squelch it. One time, I'm thinking this one particular moment, we had to plant gardens in our backyard. I was in elementary school, and we had to go home as an assignment and plant gardens, carrots, radishes, etc. And I remember I was in the 6th grade, and I pulled a radish out of the soil, and I bit into it. And at that moment I bit into it, I realized that everything was in this radish. I didn't have the language at the time. It was just like, everything is in this radish. And I went in to tell my mom that everything is in the radish. Everything is in here. And she was saying, yes, Michael. She didn't understand about this cosmic relationship. There were other experiences growing up that when they happened, I would shrink it.
Yeah, how come?
I wanted to be normal.
Well, that didn't work.
No, I wanted to be normal like everyone else. And until, you know, when I was attending USC, I started having a series of experiences. And then there was a long dream that I was having. In this dream, these 3 men were always chasing me, but I'd always wake up in time before they could do any harm to me. But every night they were a little bit closer. Then one night they were very close. I could see the outline of their face. And 2 of them grabbed me and held me down. And I could see behind me there was like thousands of people trying to fit into a small tent. I knew everybody in line too. I said, oh, my friends are here, they'll help me. And one by one, they all turned their back on me. And then the third man took a knife and plunged it into my heart. The pain was excruciating, physically and emotionally, and I died. And when I woke up, I could see that we were surrounded by love, what I call God, love, beauty. The love was so intense and the beauty just beyond description. And I never could get back into what was normal perception after that.
Now, I'm curious what you have to say about this, Michael, because in talking to a lot of different spiritual people on the journey, many, many people have what I would call a gradual awakening. Like the sun is slowly dawning. And then occasionally you hear a story like yours. You know, you had a lucid dream, deeply painful stabbing of the heart, which left you forever changed. You could call it a sudden awakening. What do you make of that, the difference between these gradual awakenings and sudden awakenings?
I think most people, it's gradual, you know, and mine was dramatic. If I look back again from a childhood up to that moment, I think it had been trying to happen, but I kept pushing it away because I didn't know what it was. But for most people, I think it's a gradual, and everyone doesn't have to have it that way. If you just begin spiritual practice, there's going to be some unfolding of your soul. And I lost every friend, pretty much every friend I had. Everybody thought I freaked out. You know, Michael freaked out on Jesus. He freaked out, you know, he's not the same person anymore, you know, which was true. I was not, you know, my priorities were totally different. And even after I had that, there was a continued, and to this day, a continual gradual awakening to more of the infinite. You know, it's, when I look back on Michael 20 years ago, and then the things that have happened in the last 20 years, you know, he's different than he was 20 years ago. Now, he was awake, but he's more awake today, you see. And as an example, last January, I was about to do a class on Zoom. And before I always sit and meditate before I'm about to do something. And I sat on the couch. So when I opened my eyes, I couldn't see, I was blind. I was blinded by the light. I was engulfed in just tremendous light. It was ecstasy. It was just all encompassing. I couldn't see anything. So I called Reverend Kathleen McNamara Lee. I said, come in. I can't see. And so they came in. They postponed the class. But after a few moments, I could see Kathleen and Lee, and I could also see the light. And then what I saw in them was a fountain. It's like a fountain of light in them, that I would say that was who they were. When we hear the phrase, we are the light that lights up every individual that comes to the planet, it's not metaphorical, it's not poetry. We are luminous, we are light. And then after a while, my sight came back and I did the class. But the energy of that, you know, is still here, and through meditation, it gets integrated. And then, as we talked about before, you know, you just get a new norm.